Good morning and welcome to today's Market Insights video on Friday the 23rd of October. So in the last few hours we've had the final presidential debate between President Donald Trump and Joe Biden before the nation goes to the polls on November the 3rd. This debate was a lot more restrained than the previous one, where it turned into a bit of a slagging match, but a lot of personal jibes still in the conversation. The president took aim at Joe Biden's son in particular. He alleged that Biden personally profited from his son's business dealings in Ukraine and China. However, Biden's defense was a blanket denial, followed by the change in the subject onto Trump's taxes and business ties to China. In their closing arguments to voters, they offered starkly different versions for the nation for the next 4 years, from shutting down the country to tackle coronavirus, to shutting down the fossil fuel industry to stop climate change. Other data coming out of the US was yesterday's weekly jobless initial claims, which actually fell, which was quite a good boost to the economy, signalling a slight upturn in the dollar yesterday. On the other side of the pond, the UK Chancellor has unveiled increased support for jobs and workers hit by the COVID closures after growing demand from certain businesses. The government will now fund 62% of wages for staff that cannot work. France has imposed heavier curfew restrictions to more cities as record coronavirus rates increase above 41,000. And PMI data later today across the globe, so that's Europe and the Americas, to see how much the recovery has stalled in the service sector. So I want to take you through a couple of FX pairs that we haven't looked at this week. Firstly, it will be the Aussie against the dollar. So we've seen over the course of the year, as with a lot of currencies, the upturn in the pandemic recovery, but it's stalled slightly at the back end of September, and now we're going through a bit of a plateau and a sideways motion. I'm seeing a slight hidden bearish divergence on the momentum indicator, which indicates that prices might start stagnating and falling lower. But if we just zoom in on the area in question with the assistance of the Ichimoku cloud, I'm seeing now that prices fell out of the cloud so that the bias is on the downside. We've got a bit of a double bottom here, which I was paying close attention to see if it can hit that zone again, which is just above the 70-cent zone, which is quite significant. But we've seem to have bounced off that, and now we're heading slightly further into the cloud. Prices are kind of trading in between the base and convergent line, which indicates there could be a bit of a breakout towards the upside. Perhaps if it can hit the lower border of this cloud, we'll get a better indication probably in the next trading session. So a look on the 4-hour chart, and again there's a slight divergence on the momentum indicator, so we could see prices fall a little bit lower. I just want to bring a Fibonacci just on the recent levels that we've had, just to see what the potentials are, and we'll just zoom into the areas of interest. So as I said before, on the daily chart, we want to push up to the cloud. On the 4-hour chart, we're in the cloud now, which indicates there could be a further engulfing and then a move up until this area here, which is roughly about the mid 71 cent. If we can break past this, then I'll be looking at the higher end of the 71 cent and then possibly going towards 72. So this is what I'll be looking at the next session or two, depending on the data coming out of Australia as well as America. So I look at the dollar Canadian now, and it's a bit of a role reversal from the Aussie dollar chart that we just looked at, basically because the dollar is the base currency on this pair. So what I want to do is just look at the potential. So we're in the cloud at the moment. There's a slight divergence here indicating there could be a further upside after this downturn. So if we just zoom in again, so as you can see, the prices are just hanging on to the lower border of the cloud, which indicates that it could be sucked back in and start trading between the conversion and base zone. So I'll be looking to see if we can possibly get back up to this resistance level that we've seen here. It's quite nice resistant tops here at 134, the lower region of 134. So that's obviously another $3 away, so there is room for potential growth as we go to the upside. So I'll be looking as the session takes full swing, especially the American session when it opens later in the afternoon today, just to see if we can touch this area at the 132 and then possibly go for further upside. And on the 4-hour chart, not really many strong divergences on the momentum indicator. So again, I'll just pull out a Fibonacci just to see what the potentials are on the downside for a retracement. And what I'm looking at here, as we saw on the daily chart, if we can get prices moving up to the cloud especially to the lower border area. You know, there's no reason why we can't hit this 132 psychological line, which is roughly about this area here, which is close to the 38.2%. And then obviously the next target will be the 50%. We've seen a little bit of resistance here as well in the short term, so I'll be looking at this in the next trading session to see what the potentials are for the upside. So I'm expecting a little bit more upside. We could see a bounce on this line if it starts testing the lower 131 region, but I don't expect it to go that far down. So I'll be seeing what the potentials are on the upside. So that's all from the Market Insights video today. Thank you very much for joining me. And if you have any comments, please feel free to add them to the video, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great trading day ahead. Bye for now.